Pride Month is come and gone, and yet gay is the only thing on my mind at the moment. Gay vampires, gay superheroes, and specifically, gay frogs. Are there gay frogs? I got asked that question in my TikTok comments and knew immediately that there was a greater conversation to be had here. That being said, today I want to take a step back from games and tell people about some LGBTQ frogs and their impact on greater society. There are a lot of animals in this world that exhibit homosexual behavior. There's literally a whole list on Wikipedia. Dolphins, chimpanzees, lions, host of different mammals, all sorts of birds, fish, reptiles, you get the idea. Same-sex behavior is incredibly common, and over 1,500 species have been documented participating. The behavior can go farther than just mounting as well. Male bottlenose dolphins form strong, long-lasting bonds through same-sex mating behavior. Different kinds of penguins form pairs and perform mating rituals like entwining necks or incubating eggs or rocks. And it happens with males and females alike. Female bonobos engage in genital-to-genital contact as a way of strengthening bonds and relieving tension. Same-sex behavior, as is written in an article for scienceinsights.org, helps strengthen alliances, occurs due to indiscriminate mating, or other social factors that benefit the species in some way. Being gay is natural, nothing crazy to see here. Do frogs follow this same pattern? The answer is more complicated than I think you'd assume. First thing to understand, queer sex between frogs does happen naturally, especially in areas where there are more male frogs than female. Male frogs mistake other male frogs for females and mount them during mating season. Because frogs have diversified the way that they reproduce, i.e. some lay eggs in water and others on land, some males do calls or body movements, etc. Same-sex behavior is very common among several species of frog or toad. In the same way as other animals, same-sex behavior between frogs can be summed up to social bonding, territory, or indiscriminate mating behavior. Frogs be frogging, and being gay is just a part of that, I guess. However, this perfectly natural phenomenon is not where the memes originate from. Nope, they come from the reddest, dumbest grifter on the earth. Alex Jones angrily shouted through a red face that the government was putting chemicals in the water that
turn the friggin' frogs gay!
And the rest was history. Swaths of the internet now believe in government-driven water poisoning that aims for one specific thing, to morph the population into one country-wide pride parade. That's right, it might be inside you too. The deep, festering gay in the water has contaminated us all. Or so he would have his audience in 2015 believing. Listen, he's an idiot and a gigantic bigot. He's not correct, at least not totally, but the best lies are ones built upon foundations of truth. The United States government is guilty of so many things, and not a single one of them is good. However, so many of its greatest crimes are open record and anyone can learn about them. There is no evidence to suggest that the United States government purposely goes out of their way to homosexualize frogs. The truth is so much more mundane. In the 1990s and early 2000s, toxicologists would find male frogs who had transitioned to females and intersex frogs in areas with high pollution. They also observed homosexual behavior in those same areas and took those two things as evidence of chemically induced reproductive harm. According to the article The Queer Lives of Frogs by Ambika Kamath and Melina Packer, two specific researchers contributed greatly to breaking down those specific assumptions. The work of Melina Packer and Max Lambert helped understand more about the role of sexual orientation in all animals and not just frogs. Melina was dissatisfied by the way that toxicologists would make assumptions based on gender, and Lambert was studying sex ratios of American green frogs in suburban and rural ponds. Something that Lambert found was that it didn't seem to matter what the chemical exposure was, there was still a lot of sex switching and same-sex behavior occurring in rural populations, if not more. There's a lot to understand here. A lot of rhetoric used to describe toxicology comes from studying lab rats. Male rats were assumed to be more aggressive than females simply because they are male, and any rats introduced to estrogenic toxicants were considered feminized, which carried a pretty negative connotation. The feminized rats were less aggressive and didn't engage in aggressive play after being exposed to the chemicals. It became clear to Packer that tying male to aggression and female to docile was an incredibly problematic way of looking at gender roles amongst animal populations. Simply put, researchers were letting their notions of human gender roles guide their understanding of how animals across the board interacted. Obviously, that's problematic enough as it is because we're still unpacking gender roles amongst humans today. Packer wanted to, ironically, unpack that and examine why less aggression in males was automatically considered harm and how you could draw any conclusions based on those assumptions. Packer and Lambert would become partners in a cross-disciplinary study that re-examined Lambert's original findings through a queer feminist lens. Without the stereotypical assumptions, new research questions have emerged, like how and why does temperature have an effect on tadpole sexual expression? The two ideologies came together to create a more open-minded, less restricting approach to toxicology, where gender and sexuality aren't immediately deemed as unnatural amongst researchers, and the distinction can be made between totally natural behavior and chemical harm due to pollution. Or, as Max Lambert said, and is stated in the article, be open to surprises. Biology will surprise you. Let the animals tell you something different about the world than what you thought. It is clear that Alex Jones, or whoever does research for his show, took a loosely true fact and forged it into a rhetorical spearhead that Jones could use to equate gay frogs with a broader, more bigoted worldview. However, it seems to me that the true aim for Jones is just plain greed. It's difficult to know whether the man actually believed any of the things that he said on his show for so many years, but it is a fact that millions of dollars were funneled through that program. He pitches you the idea of gay frogs being turned by tap water and that could possibly happen to you, and then sells you things like water filtration systems as the solution. His cycle of fear-mongering and solution selling was a legendary feat of snake oil salesmanship that frankly should go into a museum exhibit for how the country became the far-right cesspool that it has become. And that's like a whole other video of all the different things that could go into that goddamn exhibit. However, for the fun of it all, I want to list some of the wildest, most insane things that Alex Jones has ever said and did, because holy fuck, how did so many people listen and believe what he said? Well, let's get started. Pizzagate, which we now know was a psyop created by specific individuals to pull attention away from a certain party's own alleged wrongdoings. Of course, the Democratic Party was guilty, but really they were the fall guy there. The Sandy Hook Massacre was a false flag attack where all the kids never really died. Seriously, guys, this guy's fucking crazy. Obama is the leader of Al-Qaeda, some classic Islamophobia, of course. Abortion clinics harvest the organs of live babies for profit. It doesn't get dumber than that one. Lady Gaga is satanic and her halftime show was a ritual. I mean, of course, why not engage the Christian masses with anti-magic propaganda? Cloud seeding is actually the government using weather weapons on the people. Now that one I actually think might be the dumbest I've ever heard. And a million other things like Big Pharma, Charlie Kirk, etc. The guy is a mayor of crackpot crazy town, and I'm glad InfoWars is owned by The Onion now. Good work, guys. I mean, it's hard to believe such a simple rhetorical ploy would work on so many people, but the psychology is sound. If you can convince people of one small detail that has a grain of truth in it, you can, with enough charisma, use that momentum to propel them into deeper rabbit holes of hate. A lot of people in this country are simply unable to care about what is true and what is false. If there was a genuine interest in what was true, then the LGBTQ community would not make the far right as uncomfortable as it does. And something as silly as gay frogs wouldn't be a gateway to the insane conspiracy that the water is making people gay. Watching the clip,
What do you think tap water is? It's a gay bomb, baby. And I'm not saying people didn't naturally have homosexual feelings. I'm not even getting into it, quite frankly. I mean, give me a break. You think I am like, shocked by it, so I'm up here bashing it because I don't like gay people?
he says that he doesn't want to get into naturally occurring homosexuality, but the implications are clear as day. Obviously, he wouldn't bring it up and wouldn't bring up needing a solution for it if he didn't think it was a problem at some point. And it means in the back of his mind that being gay is wrong or something that needs to be fixed. He hides his bigotry behind conspiracy to rake in millions of dollars from other bigots that are convinced that the plot of the Red Dawn is a prophecy. The truth is that gay frogs exist. It's not nearly the way we think of them in terms of human homosexuality, and honestly kind of meaningless, but they live their lives and reproduce naturally. They're not a negative attribute to their population or something that threatens their survival. Why was the far right so fixated on the idea of an external source that was able to turn the population homosexual? Because a certain percentage of the United States find a deep discomfort in something that has nothing to fucking do with them. Frogs can and are allowed to be gay without the automatic assumption that they've been harmed, are lesser, or harmful, or negative in any way. In the same way, humans who are LGBTQ are allowed the same. In that way, frogs have become a symbol for the queer community. They are constantly adapting and changing throughout the stages of their lives. Despite being small, frogs have endured for over 350 million years, and they were targeted by the far right for the same stupid fucking reasons. That's why I love them and love being part of a community of people who love frogs and a community of people who love people. I make this video with the purpose of highlighting a fascinating internet phenomenon. However, it is not to be misunderstood. Pollution and global warming is shrinking frog populations. I have made TikToks about how frogs are facing literal extinction. Some species have disappeared entirely. A lot of why I started doing daily frog facts in the first place was to highlight how many of them there are and how many we've lost. Nearly 1/3 of the world's amphibians are endangered or gone. There are chemicals that harm reproductive organs and hormones in a way that is life-threatening. Gay frogs just isn't really a problem. Frogs are an essential part of the ecosystem and no less important than any other. And the world will hurt greatly if they truly vanish for good. For that reason, there are lots of frog conservation projects. Save the Frogs, an organization that I've talked about before, does awesome work, and I say that with absolutely no connection to them. I just like the things they do and say on their site. The Amphibian Survival Alliance is working with 5 different programs and over 40 conservationists to help put resources into the hands of people who will make a difference. More people should know about it, and the times that we live in should want to care about conservation, the environment, and people. Tolerance, empathy, and care are the virtues that we should all strive to hold in our hearts, because the opposites are scary and ruin things or tear down things that could otherwise be built up. That's the ultimate frog fact on gay frogs. Hope you enjoyed the video and check out the resources in the description below. See ya!